Hi everybody, in this video I'm going to go over the instructions for Project 3. Remember that Project 3 covers kind of a large territory within the semester. It does cover 4 modules, the modules dealing with learning, memory, cognitive psychology, and developmental psychology. If you do have any questions, comments, concerns that aren't addressed in this video or in the instructions or the rubric, then of course, please make sure that you reach out to me via Canvas mail no later than Friday at 5 p.m. before the assignment is due, as with all other projects. So let me go ahead. I'm going to pull up the screen here. So Project 3, as I mentioned, it's covering a lot of territory. Even though it's covering 4 different modules, this is actually one of the kind of easier ones in my opinion. So just like with every other project, set up the exact same way. There's the project form that you're going to have to download, and then you're going to submit it. There is still up to a 20% penalty for problems with grammar, spelling, typos, things like that. Let me go ahead and pull up, and just to remind everybody, I know sometimes people have had questions on this. If clicking on that project form pulls up a screen, it should pull up a screen that looks like this, but sometimes you have that little waiting circle that keeps rotating. Regardless if it pulls up here or not, remember though, you have to download this because you're going to have to fill it out. So click that link up there where it says download. I know some students were still having some problems with that. What you're going to pull up then is the Project 3 form. So step 1, and keep in mind really what's going to happen here is that Project 3 kind of overall is sort of like a good point of self-reflection because we just finished exam 1. And remember, there's 3 exams in this class. I drop your lowest exam grade. So a lot of times, students don't do well on the first exam. That may be you, right? If you didn't do very well on the first exam, you kind of have that cushion built in that, hey, if you do well on exam 2 and exam 3, the grade for exam 1 isn't going to count. And that's automatically populated into Canvas, by the way, right? So this isn't like something where I'm personally sitting here at the end of the semester saying, exam 2 was the lowest, exam 1 was the lowest. It's just automatically calculated. That being said, I find that after exam 1, that this is a good time to have students kind of go back and look at what's worked and what hasn't worked at this point, what they need to tweak or fix going into the rest of the semester. So that's really kind of the main focus of this project. And it ties in nicely with those modules that we talked about. So step 1, how did you learn to study? Try to tie in your experiences with learning this skill to at least 2 of the 3 types of learning that we've discussed in class. So the 3 main branches of learning that we talked about was classical conditioning, operant conditioning, and observational learning. So tie in at least 2 of those, right? You can talk about experiences of watching others study, or how you may have been punished or rewarded, or how it may have been almost like classically conditioned or something like that. 200 word minimum for step 1. Step 2, do you think that your study skills can be improved? If yes, explain what you think can be improved. If not, explain how a skill can remain constant despite changing situations. So what I mean by this is like, if you're saying, no, my study skills are just what they are, right? Good, bad, ugly, they're not changing. Then you'll have to tell me how you expect to get different results based upon maybe something that's worked. Your study skills have worked in middle school, they worked in high school, but now you're in college. Those are different teaching formats, those are different environments. So if your skills aren't changing, how are you adapting to those, right? You kind of have to explain that part, and it's difficult. So in step 2, it's going to be 200 word minimum. Really try to focus in on what you think you need to change though, if you are one of the ones who's going to be selecting that first option that you think that study skills can be improved. Step 3, remember that we all have cognitive biases. They're part of being a human being. Please identify at least one cognitive bias discussed in class and apply it to this self-reflection on your study habits. Please describe how you think this cognitive bias may influence your thinking about your study skills in the space below. And there's a couple different biases we talked about. We talked about things like anchoring bias, perhaps like how the way things have always worked will always work into the future, even though situations may change, or even though what's worked in the past may not have been the most efficient, but it worked, so you're just sticking with it. Things like a representative bias, availability heuristics, self-serving biases, confirmation bias, hindsight biases. You can talk about any of those, are really fair game. If there's a bias that you want to talk about that wasn't discussed in class, that's fine too. All I ask is that you just get permission. Just send me an email and let me know beforehand so that I can tell you it's a legitimate bias, because there are dozens of different biases, but you look online, you'll find all kinds of information, sometimes not accurate. Step 4, since we have now finished the first exam and have 2 more remaining in the semester, please tell me how you plan on changing your study habits to do better on the next 2 exams. Please be specific. So this is that really good self-reflection part here, right? 200 words minimum. Tell me what you plan on changing. If you got a really good score in exam 1, maybe this section is going to be like you talking about, this really worked well for me, and this is what I'm going to keep doing. I don't really see the need to change, this, and this, but, I'll tweak this a little bit, something like that. If you didn't do well in exam 1, then this is going to be easy for you to have 200 words for sure, and you can certainly go over. Remember, all of these word minimums you can go over, you just can't go under. So you're going to want to really go into explaining what hasn't worked for you, what you need to change. Because the key is, if you didn't do well on exam 1, since I dropped 1 exam grade, this is your second chance. This is your mulligan, to use golf speak. But you can't just put it on hopes. And that's what I hear from a lot of students, right? It's just, I'll give an excuse, right? And this is a totally subconscious thing, right? I did poorly on exam 1 because my work schedule changed. I had family issues. I was sick, right? All these excuses, right? I'm not a bad student. It's the situation that made it bad. But by doing that, you're failing to see what you can do differently. Because I can tell you, folks, life is life. If life interfered with you taking exam 1, it's just as likely that it's going to interfere with you taking exam 2 or exam 3. If you don't change the you behind it, how you can adapt, how you can overcome those problems, you're going to end up having a problem with exam 2 and exam 3. And if I only drop 1 exam, that means all the rest are really going to start counting if you did poorly on the first exam. So take this as the opportunity that it is to really self-reflect on what you need to do differently, not blaming other people, not blaming the situation, or finding excuses. Step 5, please look at the exam review for exam 2. I'll show you in a second where you can find that. It's if you scroll down in the module dealing with personality. You'll see where there's an exam 2 page. If you click on it, it'll talk about what to pull from as far as an exam guide. Same thing as exam 1 though. Basically what it is to look at the study guides and the learning outcomes specifically for the study guides. So for this exam, for exam 2, it's going to pull from learning, memory, developmental psychology, and cognitive psychology. So those are really your keys, right? That's your exam guide. So list at least 10 mnemonics that can be applied specifically to the topics listed in the review. What I'm getting you to do here is to not just focus on your study skills, what needs to change, if there's any kind of biases that are interfering with you seeing clearly what you need to change, but also to maybe incorporate something that to some of you may not have used before, which are these mnemonics. And I can tell you mnemonics work. They help a lot. That's been proven by experiments, by many studies. That's not just my opinion. Students who tend to use mnemonics and use them effectively do better. And they usually learn the material in a lot shorter time period, which frees up the free time for you to go do the things you want to do. So it's a win-win. So you're going to come up with 10 mnemonics. Now, you can use mnemonics that I may have used in my videos for my in-person classes. If I used it in the classroom, you can use them. You can search for them online yourself. That's fine. Or you can come up with them on your own. But you have to have 10 mnemonics that are specific to the topics that are going to be covered on exam 2. This way, not only are you filling this requirement for the project, but to be honest, you're also getting a little bit of a head start on studying for an exam 2. That's even better. And then step 6, this is that standard thing that I always put down is in the space below, talk about the purpose of this project, how it may have helped you in applying terms, concepts, and if you have any questions about terms or concepts from the 4 modules, the learning, memory, cognitive psychology, and developmental psychology, this is your space to ask it. It's not your space to ask questions about this project, but about anything from those modules. If you have questions on, you can ask them here and I'll answer them for you. That's pretty much it. Everything else, this is really usual to us, right? We know what we need to do here. So when you're ready to submit it, hit project submission. If you want to look at the rubric, you can scroll down. There's the rubric. You want to submit it, you hit start submit or start assignment, upload the file, click the box that allows it to be gone through turn it in, and then hit submit assignment. After you submit the assignment, go into your grades. Go to the project 3, and to the far right, you'll see a little colored banner. You click on it, and it shows you what that turn it in report is, and if anything's been flagged for similarity, like plagiarism, AI, anything like that. If it is, resubmit it. I'll only grade the last submission. If you don't, though, you do risk getting a 0 for the assignment, and you don't want that. I don't want that. That's pretty much it, folks. As always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything you need help with this that wasn't addressed, make sure you're sending me an email prior to 5 p.m. on the Friday before the assignment is due. Otherwise, good luck, and I'll talk to you later.